G'day, welcome to Built by Dan. I'm Dan, thanks for checking out my channel. If you're enjoying where these episodes are going and would like to follow along as I build my first project car, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future releases. In today's episode, we're going to be preparing the garage in readiness for the delivery of the GT40 kit car. That's going to include tidying up the garage, clearing everything out of here that you see behind me, moving it into the other garage, cleaning the floors, epoxy coating the floors, and then bringing all the shelving back in so that we've got somewhere to store all of the parts that come with the kit car once it arrives. Due to the amount of work and the drying times involved in completing the epoxy application process, this video has actually been recorded over a number of weeks, and that's largely due to having to wash the floors, give it a few days to dry, apply the epoxy, give it time for the first coat to dry, second coat, allow it to dry for a few days before you even walk or drive on that. And we want to make sure that it's 100% cured before we start bringing anything back in here, so that it'll make sure that the coating actually lasts. You can probably see some empty shelves just here behind me. That's because I've already started the process of cleaning out the garage and trying to get some things stored away that I don't really need access to all the time. So I guess it's time to get started. I'm going to get stuck into moving everything out of here, and then I'll check back in just before we start the next process, which will probably be prepping the floor ready for the etch, so that we can make sure that the surface is completely clean before we apply the epoxy. There you have it. Garage is completely empty and it's ready for the next step. So the next step for the process will be probably the worst step as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm going to have to sweep, scrape, fill all the cracks, and then it will be an etch process so that it roughens up the concrete surface so that the epoxy will stick to it. So that's probably it for today, and I'll reconvene tomorrow. See you then. Okay, so we're now into day 2 of the garage makeover. Cleaned it all out yesterday, so today I need to sweep, vacuum and fill the cracks ready for the etch process before we can even think about starting the epoxy application. So let's get stuck into it. I just thought I'd take you and show you what the next step of the process is going to involve. So basically we've cleaned the garage, and now we're looking at any of these hairline cracks that you can see right here, and we're going to fill them with an epoxy concrete repair. There's also a number of chips in my slab, and this is from fixings being drilled into the slab to support the concrete wall during construction. Just some minor sort of damage. We'll go through, we'll fill all of that with the epoxy repair kit, and we should then have a nice smooth slab to apply our epoxy to later on, and it should give us a nice good quality finish. I'll stick you back in the corner and I'll get to filling these cracks. Okay, so unfortunately my camera died partway through that process, so I thought I'd just show you how it all ended up. Basically just crawled around the floor and filled in all of these hairline cracks, and they'll get sanded down later. And as many sort of little chips and everything that I could find around the floor. Surprising actually once you get down there just how many cracks and chips there are. So I want to make sure that I get the best finished as possible. So I spent a bit of time and tried to get all of it filled. Now I just need to let that dry. It'll get a rough sand and then I'll be ready to etch the entire floor. G'day and welcome to day 3 of the garage makeover. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks since I last did any work out here in the garage. Since then I have been out here and sanded back all the epoxy filler that we used to fill all the cracks in the slab. And so it's been sanded, and then I pressure washed the garage to get rid of all the sanding residue. So the garage is now nice and clean and it's ready for an acid etch. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I've got some bits and pieces here ready to go. So I'll get that organised and get stuck straight into it. The end of the acid etch for the garage floor. Unfortunately the product didn't stretch as far as I was hoping it would, so it looks like we'll have to go to the shop, pick up some more and finish off this last section of the garage that I didn't get to. Till then I'll go take a much earned break.
Yep.
G'day, welcome to day 4 of the garage makeover. Today's actually day 5, but I spent a day off camera finishing off the etching of the floor for those areas that I didn't get done last time. Today is the day that we're going to actually start laying the epoxy. So got everything set up here ready to go. Need to mix it all up. We're going to paint the edges first and then roll on for the remainder. Let's see how we go. welcome back to another day of the garage makeover. As you can see, the epoxy has now been laid on the floor. It's come up really well, I'm really happy with it. Now we're on to the next step. I've decided now to paint the walls, get rid of this patchy brickwork look. So I've bought some paint, I'm going to go around, cut in all the edges, and then roll on the walls, and yeah, we'll see how it looks when it's done. You can already see that it's a hell of a lot brighter in here compared to what it was, just with the gloss finish on the epoxy floor. So we're hoping that if we brighten up the walls a little bit, it should be even brighter again, even with the garage door closed. Let's see how we go. Okay, so here we are, day 2. 10 litres of undercoat later. Unfortunately my camera cut out, so it didn't quite pick up much of the effort that I put in yesterday, unfortunately. But basically you can see that the majority of the walls are now covered in an undercoat, definitely brightening up the garage. Didn't quite stretch as far as we needed it to, but that's okay. We'll put a couple of coats of the top coat on that section and we should still be able to get sufficient coverage. So swapping cameras today, hoping that I might have a bit of better luck, and we'll see how we go. Top coat today, and with any luck maybe even a second top coat. Welcome back to the last stage of the garage makeover process. So as you can see behind me, the walls have all been painted, the floors have had its epoxy coating put on, everything's now fully dried and cured, so we're ready to move everything back into the garage. So the racking and some of my basic tools that I'll be using for the GT40 build will be brought back in. Everything else I'll find somewhere else to store because I don't want to clutter the garage. I want as much racking space as possible for all the parts that come with the kit. Let's get stuck into it. About the extent of the garage makeover. I've got the racking back in that I want, got my tool trolley, I have the chassis stands up in the back corner, basically keeping that back corner free because when the car arrives it comes on about a 4 metre by 2.5 metre pallet, and I'd like to still be able to store the body panels on that whilst I'm assembling the rest of the car. Other than that, it's a lot of empty storage for a lot of incoming parts. And as you can probably see behind me, we have received our first delivery. Stay tuned for the next video and I'll show you just what it is. Thanks for watching this episode. If you like where this channel is heading and the content that I'm creating, or if you have any feedback for me, please hit the thumbs up button or drop a comment in the comment section below. I look forward to having you tune in to the next episode.